Conservative news outlets continue to be censored. Journalists who don't fit the mainstream narrative are often disregarded, shamed, ostracized. Take, for example, Dr. Anthony Harper. He's a Christian reporter who's a White House news correspondent for Intermountain Christian News and Israel News Service Newsreel. He says the current press secretary refuses to meet with him or take questions from him. Now, in 2017, his investigative White House questions on an anti-Semitic UN agency got the attention of President Trump, who defunded the United Nations Relief and Works Agencies for Palestine refugees, which Biden has refunded. Watch.
I'm aware of a concern about the misuse of U.S. tax dollars going to UN schools that are inciting kids to violence against the Jews. MK leaders Sharon Haskell, Yehuda Glick, and Dr. Eliza Levy. I met recently, had interviews with them. Their concerns are very serious. So they would want to know what President Trump, how he would respond to the misuse of these.
And Dr. Harper joins me live now. Dr. Harper, thank you so much for being here. What do you make of this administration and how it treats reporters like yourself?
Well, very clear to me. I just see a war on Judeo-Christian values, or Judeo-Christian heritage of America. So they mistreat me and others that would speak up and challenge them on these issues. I think overall about what President Lincoln had to say when he said this is a nation that has forgotten God. And the Biden administration has forgotten God, no respect for God whatsoever. And I think also about hypocrisy, Stella, as well. This is a real assault on the Judeo-Christian heritage of America.
So the White House press secretary, she obviously knows who you are, right? I mean, this administration prides itself on being transparent, inclusive. How have you been treated? I mean, especially, when you were open about not getting the COVID vaccine.
Well, I've been mistreated by other journalists there and mocking me and my credentials in the White House, not defending me and not criticizing those journalists for this workplace harassment. Being harassed several times about this matter. Very troublesome, the double standard of the White House, by the way, on the vaccine policy, the masking policy. I would refuse to be vaccinated, but yet they allow vaccinated journalists in the White House without a mask, but they want me to wear a mask. So I've been bullied at the White House about that. There's several news reports about that experience. Very troublesome about the way I and other religious media are being treated there.
So they won't take any of your questions, but this administration is really quick to infer that MAGA evangelical Christians who support Trump are semi-fascists.
Very upsetting. That is a hypocrisy of the Biden administration in this matter, really demonizing President Trump's supporters, many of them evangelicals. And I'm really taken aback by the hypocrisy of the Biden administration regarding what you played earlier about the anti-Semitism issues. This administration, Biden administration, refunding this anti-Semitic UN agency, UNRWA, but not also the issue is funding the Palestinian Authority, which has their pay-for-slave program. And it's very upsetting about what the Biden administration is doing to assault the human rights issues.
Well, they always talk about that they stand up to Jew hatred, anti-Semitism, but then they go ahead and they fund Palestinians and Hamas that then use the money to basically attack Israel.
Very, very disturbing, very, very alarming. This administration has been really on a full-out scale of war on our Judeo-Christian heritages. And I was banned. My interview with David Horowitz was banned from the YouTube channel. But addressing the issues, what he does in his book, Final Battle, How Our Next Election Can Last, really assault on just the fabric of our nation on many fronts. But he does address this issue of the assault on Judeo-Christian values. And David Horowitz has been very outspoken about this, and a lot of people have really respected his views on these matters.
Yeah, just so our viewers know, you did an interview with David Horowitz when you talked about the elections, the trend of the Democrat Party towards socialism, and then you talked about anti-Semitism, and then that video was recently banned on YouTube.
Yes, and then I've been warned that, that our YouTube channel is under surveillance, and we get 3 strikes and they would remove our YouTube channel. This is very troublesome about censorship of media that has these really challenging questions. And I am actually a Republican, probably asking the most challenging questions in the White House right now for our Jewish and Christian audience.
Well, I think they don't want you to ask the questions because they wouldn't know how to answer them anyway. So silencing you is the best way to do things, is what they think.
I know, and I really had quite the confrontation with the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, on the day of the Supreme Court decision, Roe v. Wade. She had canceled the press meetings that day, went up to her office personally, face-to-face, and asked her, what about a child's right to life? What's your response to her Christian audience? And she turned away in shame and wouldn't refuse to say anything. So as I continue that really is really the silent treatment and mistreating the religious media. And I'm usually the only one there of the Christian media to ask these challenging questions.
I gotta say, you're one amazing man. You are so persistent. I mean, you go in there every single day, despite of the way they treat you.
Well, it is a miracle to be able to, hold up under these issues of all the assault on my character and being ridiculed. But I thank God for the courage that I've been given to address these issues. And I think when you played that video clip about asking that question about UNRWA, that UN agency, I mean, that was miraculous for the courage that I feel God has given me to be able to take another reporter's seat. And, all those seats are signed to other reporters, but I take this seat and believe me, for no one to show up. And then how this question goes viral in Jerusalem. That's truly a miracle. And I thank God for the courage in these opportunities. And I want to invite people to they want to support, what I'm trying to do at the White House on behalf of a large Christian Jewish audience. They want to support me at the White House. They can do that if they go to our news website, imcnews.org, and we have a donate button for our nonprofit newspaper to help report the truth. And I know your audience loves to hear the truth, and it's a real battle to try to report the truth at the White House in the midst of the hostile environment.
And I think that our audience appreciates the work that you're doing, regardless of the way you're being treated, and they would be happy to donate. Dr. Anthony Harper, Christian reporter and White House correspondent for Intermountain Christian News and Israel News Service Newsreel. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to join, Stella. Thank you.